Hey everyone, welcome to what's happening in real estate this week. I've got Brian Hogben here, Mission 35 Mortgages. He does mortgages better than the banks. And then we don't have Conrad today. He's in the middle of an important meeting, and maybe he might join us in as we go. But Brian, what's been on the news lately is homeowner must tear down a $400,000 poolside oasis built on Hamilton Parkland.
That's painful. Oh,
It is. So the guy was pretty, confident. And I had this. You know what? Hang on one sec here, guys. I had the papers here on that. Here it is. So what it is a homeowner on Kingsview Drive in Stony Creek spent over $400,000 building a driveway and poolside oasis during the pandemic. Now, the project was unknowingly built on city-owned parkland near the Red Hill Valley. Now, the owner claimed, okay, this is what he claimed, right? This is his way. He claimed he believed that the land was his and faced difficulty assessing permit and boundary info due to 2020 pandemic restrictions. Now, he offered to buy the land for $150,000, but city council rejected the proposal. Now, Councilor Brad Clark, who is initially open to the alternatives, reversed his stance after confirming that build violated zoning rules and official plan. So no councillor supported the motion to sell or negotiate. So if you look at the pictures, this is like he got like a really high end landscape company.
It looks nice. Yeah. It looked nice. It looked nice.
So
wow.
He built it. So probably nobody ever went there. Nobody ever touched it. For sure, a neighbor called and ratted on him and said, "There's no way."
That's exactly it. It's hard. I remember putting my pool in, and we had to deal with Niagara Escarpment Commission. Niagara Escarpment Commission, you have to do all the plans, you have to get the permits, you have to have the fence. Like there was an extraordinary amount of hoops to go through, which I imagine would have been the same for this guy, for the parkland.
Oh, for sure. So now, so with this guy, apparently he has to tear it down. So I don't know if he's going to appeal it. He's going to fight it.
Why wouldn't, you know what? Like, I don't know. At first glance, you kind of think like $150,000, right? So clearly he's trying to make amends. What would be the reason the city to say no to that? You think, like, why wouldn't the city say, you know what, we could probably use $150,000, put it to good use?
I don't get it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. They just want to make an example. Maybe his attitude they didn't like. Who knows? Maybe, you know,
or maybe it sets a precedent, I guess, right? Yeah, if they take $150,000, then you get everybody saying, "Oh, I'll build too," and then I'll pay $100,000 in order to, because then there would be a precedent set, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, but this actually, you know what this is? So let's say he did get away with it. Let's say he did. Nobody noticed it. He sold the property, right? Somebody bought it. Okay. Now there was no permit. Let's say somebody all of a sudden comes knocking on his door. Hey, there is no permit for this property. You're going to have to tear it down. So that's when obviously titles insurance covers him, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Titles insurance covers him. And then titles insurance would actually rip it down and rebuild something close to that. They would have to.
I would imagine, or they would take it off the purchase price. Like if you sold that house for $2 million and it turned out to be a $500,000 improvement, they maybe But
if the new buyers moved in,
So
there was a case on the waterfront. There was a shoreline protection done, but not done right. And there was, so the lady took possession of the property, but there was a outstanding permit, like something was, they had to do something to the shoreline, and it didn't get done. So the new owner buys it, finds out this problem. Guess what? She gets a freaking $250,000 to $350,000 new shoreline protection from titles insurance. So titles insurance will cover it, and then they'll go after the previous owner. They're going to go after them. So and now you got a law firm that is going after them, not a homeowner.
And this is why everybody gets title insurance, right? Whenever you're getting a new purchase, it's what I think it's around $400 or $500. You got First Canadian Title, Stewart Title, great businesses.
Yeah.
But that is because people always say, why do I'm getting life insurance, I'm getting mortgage default insurance, I'm getting title insurance. What are all these insurances? But I always end up saying to people, it's
worth it.
Well, it's like title insurance makes sure that you're buying what you think you're buying.
Yes.
Right? Because you think you're buying this little fenced-in neighborhood or this little piece of land, but maybe you're not. Maybe something's not as it seems.
Well, there was this property years ago. I think it was I can't remember if it was St. Catharines, Niagara Falls. There was a large driveway on the property. So anyway, the new owners move in, everything's all good. And then all of a sudden, there's a laneway that goes into this driveway, right? And the guy that owns the laneway says, hey, that's my property. And they go, what? So because they bought the property thinking the driveway was all theirs, and it wasn't.
So anyway, they can't even get into it then if the laneway has the access to it.
No. So what happened was titles insurance got involved. They bought that piece for the homeowner. So they bought it, and that's what titles insurance. Years ago, you're probably not old enough to know this, but years ago, you always had to get a survey for every survey.
I remember those.
And
everybody was lining up to get that huge paper document at the city, like the survey for closing, right?
Because the banks wanted it, and they wanted to make sure you're buying it, and it was $1,500 for a survey, and so that's why titles insurance came in. Well, titles insurance in Canada started in Hamilton, eh?
Oh, I
don't know if you knew that. Yeah, it was lawyers here in Hamilton. They put titles insurance together.
Yeah, FCT, the founder was from Hamilton. That's right.
Yeah. So, but anyway, but listen to this. So that's titles insurance, right? Okay, that's that. But how many houses, right? Like, let's say the homeowner bought that, but how many houses do you think have finished basements that actually applied for a permit? 20%, 10%?
I'd be surprised.
That's why they got bylaw guys looking to see if there's any.
I'd be surprised.
They're looking to see if there's any garbage bins in the front driveway so they can knock on the door.
Well, when you're doing renovations, you're technically supposed to have a permit if you're doing 99% of renovations that people do at home, other than painting, you would require a permit.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. So this is the type of thing that happened. Like if you're replacing a bathroom, if you're doing something that a lot of people would do
a kitchen
all on their own, a kitchen, you need a permit for it.
But they're not going to bother you too much on that. But if you have especially around McMaster University, if there's a bin in front of a house, they're going to not walk in and say, hey, what are you doing here? How come so they'll check the address to see if there's a permit.
I'll tell you something too. I did it the wrong way. I always seem to do things the wrong way, Rob. I don't know why. I'm just like a dumb guy, but because when I got my first office, the contractor said to me, hey, we can do this the permit way, or you can do it the non-permit way. Right. So naturally, I was trying to save some money, did it the non-permit way. And guess what? What happened when you do things the non-permit way and it's
you get shut down?
Well, what happened if you don't get shut down? You have a floating liability that could come bite you in the ass, and you don't know when. Because what happened to me 3 years later, somebody comes and says, "Hey, this doesn't look like how it should look like." Right. And what ended up happening to me is I had to get the whole building re-engineered. It was like reverse applying for the permit for the work that was already done. Yeah, right. And then I had to change some HVAC, had to change some plumbing in order to make it compliant. So just for the words from me anyway, if it's small, hey, hallelujah. If you want to roll the dice, go ahead.
Yeah.
But if you're doing a big renovation, I'm a permit because 4 years from now, if you're in a tough financial situation and someone comes knocking, you're shut down. You're in a lot of trouble, right? So.
Oh yeah, no, I know that. Especially in Burlington, you better not do that in Burlington. But I had a guy in McMaster. He had a property. He had a garbage bin in front. They knocked on his door and they say, "What are you doing?" He was finishing the basement. They shut him down. They made him do that. But there's a lot of houses out there right now. Well, so if you're going to do a renovation, just get a pickup truck or get a enclosed trailer, load it up. Nobody knows what's inside there. Nobody knows you're demolishing and getting rid of garbage, and so that nobody sees what you're doing. But if you got a bin, they're gonna verify to see if that address has any kind of permit, and if it doesn't, they're gonna walk in and then you're out of luck. But think about this. How many houses, like I said, that don't have permits on basement finishes? There's 80% of them.
Or the duplex triplex, like, the old Victorian home that's been, was a single family home, then chopped up. I think people have gotten better at making them legal. They see the value in making them legal.
Yeah.
What would but I think recommending to people that they make sure like they check, right?
When I was in my early 20s, I bought a house on Chatham Street, and I duplexed it. No permit, nothing. I mean, this is my early 20s, so it's
you're good. You're good.
You know how many owners have gone past through? I think they converted it back to a single family home, but I did everything right. I got the right electricians and everything. Finished the attic. Everything was all good. I duplexed it, and but no permit there. Like, there's so many properties out there now. You should get a home inspection.
Oh yeah.
You can check on title to see if there's any permits taken, and if there isn't, and you see the whole house finished, it's hard. It's hard. Nobody wants to apply for a permit because the city screws you over in one way or another if you get the permit. That's why everybody's trying to do everything without.
Yeah, I think and I think mindsets change once you get bitten. But I think getting a permit, I think if you're doing a substantial one, you get one, because it just ends up making sure that you're safe. And I find, for me anyways, maybe I've got some bad luck, but it always ends up costing more in the end. It's kind of like if you're gonna hire the cheapest realtor to sell your house. I don't think so, right? Yeah. You're never gonna hire the cheapest realtor. You never want to go the cheapest, like, for these big major investments, financial decisions.
Yeah, no, I know. Burlington was tough. I didn't change anything. I just did a full renovation. They stopped me, and you know what they made me do? Because I changed a 2x4 in the bathroom. They made me convert that bathroom into a wheelchair bathroom.
Right, but I remember. But the ironic part was the front door doesn't have to be changed because it's heritage, right? So you can't.
Well, because I didn't touch So guess what? You can. A wheelchair can't even go through the front door, but they made me change the bathroom as a wheelchair thing. Can you believe that? But that's how I like the sensibility of their brains of these people.
Well, I think they're policy driven, what I think that maybe, and sometimes it's kind of like just in business, right? There's policy and then there's people. There's policy and then there's real life situations, right? And it's like, if we get so regimented and stuck on the policy, we're not seeing the forest through the trees, right? We got to stop and think for a second, say, what are we doing here? Is Rob running a meth lab? No, he's not. Right? I think
that's it. But anyway, but anyway, if you buy a house, get titles, insurance, but you can't prevent somebody.
Well, it's a mortgage requirement. You got to get it. Like, the mortgage company requires it now, that you have to. And you know what's funny? The title insurance companies have a lot more power now, because I've seen it as of lately where title insurance has said, no, we won't give you title insurance. And then that kills the mortgage. And a specific situation.
Have you seen that?
Specifically on when people are power of attorney in reverse mortgages. So one of the highest fraud situation where title insurance says no. So imagine I'm Rob's son and I take over power of attorney from you 6 months ago. Now I'm putting a mortgage on your house.
Oh.
Huge red flag, right? And it might be legit. It very much might be legit, but the amount of paperwork, due diligence, you almost have to hire a private detective to end up saying that it's legit. Because if Rob, or if the person that you have power of attorney for is incapacitated, and then power of attorney was just taken out, it's a red flag all of a sudden. And especially if they're older, their title insurance is like, we don't want to pay a claim here. Why are we doing this right now? Why is it so quick?
Yeah.
So, and they can stop it. And they can stop it.
They can stop it. But anyway, buddy, listen, thanks for coming on, and make sure you get titles insurance when you buy a house. Also, if you don't have titles insurance, you bought prior to the mid 90s, get titles insurance if your house is paid for. You never know. At least if you sell your house, or somebody tries to defraud you from putting a mortgage on your house, you won't have to worry about it. Brian, thanks a lot, buddy. And we'll catch you next week, and hopefully Conrad's around. I know he's flying all over the world speaking. So
yeah, we'll get him on.
I think he's lost a few pounds too.
Yeah.
Did you see him?
Well, it's the airplane food, maybe.
Yeah. No, I don't think he eats that.
No,
I don't think he
not.
watches. He watches what he eats. You know what? I've been around that guy a lot. I don't ever think I've seen him eat. I don't know what the hell he eats.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Next time, take a look and see if he's sitting beside you. If you go for lunch, I don't think he has lunch. I don't know what he's eating.
He's talking on both phones. That's why he's busy. You know what I mean? So.
Anyway, buddy, take care. Thanks a lot.
All right.
We'll
cheers.
see you next week.